was just a non-starter for me. Even personal values aside, there was no way for me to viably start an agricultural enterprise with taking what I was given at the end of every crop. You know, you grow your steers and you sell them off to be auctioned at the local yards, and you turn into a price taker and not a price maker. I come from different industries where we set our buy prices, we set our sell prices, and then you've got to just manage the fat in the middle with your wages and overheads. It's laughable in the other industries all around, every other industry all around the world to not know what you're selling for.
The Biological Farming Roundtable podcast helps farmers explore innovative, low-input, regenerative and profitable farming systems. The Biological Farming Roundtable is sponsored by Nutrisoil, an award-winning biological liquid fertiliser made from a big worm farm. Nutrisoil's purpose is to empower farmers to produce life-enriching food. My name is Nikala Maddock. I work at Nutrisoil. I envisage a future where farmers are rewarded for producing nutrient-rich foods and consumers have this easily available to them. Today I'm joined by Albury entrepreneur Jacob Wolki. Family and food is his highest priority, driving his quest to build a community where farmers and conscious consumers are connected by shared values. Jacob has been farming for 4 years. His learnings come from books and YouTube. He does not label himself as a perfectionist, just someone who takes opportunities when he sees them. What Jacob has done in those 4 years is remarkable. He leases land where he raises cattle, pigs and chickens, more as well, we'll talk about it, processes it, sells online, has opened a self-serve butchery and runs farm tours. He's changing the system of how farmers sell their produce, which is what we're here to discuss today. I liken Jacob to his own unique version of Joel Salatin and a similar model to Food Connect in Brisbane, who are both driven by a fairer food system for all farmers, but also educating consumers in the real cost of producing good, nutritious food. So welcome to the show today, Jacob.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're very pleased in our little studio here at Nutrisoil. There is so much to cover. We've already been talking our heads off. But you've been farming for just 4 years now. Tell us about how you got into agriculture.
It's a bit of a rabbit hole. It's a YouTube rabbit hole story. But essentially, my family owns a bicycle shop in town, cycle station, and winters are quite quiet for us. Wet, cold weather. And I was just starting to get into gardening. Got married, wasn't going out with friends as much, setting up our little nest at home and getting into the veggie patch. And at the bike shop during those cold winters, I thought I'd love to garden, so I actually bought myself a greenhouse and set it up in the car park at the bike shop and started watching organic gardeners on YouTube. And a little thumbnail came up on the suggested videos one day, and it said something to the effect of, "This man buys land for $15 an acre." And I knew it was clickbait, but I thought that is really interesting. I want to know how to buy land at $15 an acre. And it was a video that Justin Rhodes did about Joel Salatin. And the explanation was that with $15 an acre worth of infrastructure, he doubles his productivity, electric fences and water. And I thought I'd like to try that on my dad's block. Dad had 100 acres, or has 100 acres, and does not much with it. It's a lifestyle block. And that was my first thing that piqued my interest really into animal production. And then I just went down this rabbit hole of organics and nutrient-dense food and animal welfare, and I haven't been able to pull the handbrake on yet.
It doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't stop.
So is there any reason that you wanted to look at growing food and organic? I mean, your family, has there been any health issues or?
Nothing that we consciously dealt with. I've always had respiratory issues. You know, I've never been able to breathe through my nose almost my whole life, skin rashes everywhere. And I didn't realise until a little bit into our food journey that things like stomach pain and irregular bowel movements and all these things that we don't like talking about weren't normal. And so it was a little bit of a chicken and egg thing for me, but I started eating better, mainly based on welfare concerns. You know, not wanting to eat an animal out of a cage, I'd rather eat one off pasture. And all of a sudden I'm thinking my rash is going, I can breathe through my nose again, bowel's feeling better. and then really drilling down and chasing that experience, and then finding out, our knowledge of health in our society isn't the reality of what health can be. And it's been a big wake-up call for our family. And I've got 2 young sons at home. My wife's pregnant with our 3rd child. Boy or girl, we're not sure. We're still taking bets.
Did you know the other 2?
No, we just wing it.
Yeah.
I always say that I like to keep it a surprise because it curbs my wife's spending. That last month when she's on the couch because she's getting big and uncomfortable, she can't be buying cute little pink tutus on Etsy because she doesn't know if it's a girl. So we end up with lots of yellow clothing.
Yeah.
But it's important for me that I give my sons the best start. And even just in the last few months of our journey, I've read this book by Dr. Catherine, can't remember her surname, it's called Deep Nutrition. And then just finding out about epigenetics and the potential expression of our genetic information based on the quality of food we're eating, and how our decisions based on our meals can have generational consequences in our progeny is exceptionally motivating to me. Like, it could be a bit confronting for some people, but for me, I find that really exciting and I've got my own little test pool of progeny from my own bloodline. So it's a rabbit hole, and we've been enjoying it.
Yeah. I think people need to value food more and understand that it is medicine, and that how food is grown, it's the chemical load, but it's also the lack of nutrition in that plant, and then that's what we're eating. So obviously we have chemicals in us, and we have our hormones and enzymes not working and all of those types of things. So I just don't understand why people don't realise that more, and I have discussions with friends about it, and they go, really? Like, it's just, in our world we know.
Yes.
But in the general population, it's normal to go to the supermarket and not think too much.
Sure.
I go in there and I get depressed.
Yes. Yeah, which is don't go.
I know what has been sprayed over these vegetables.
That's right.
And how many times and what it is that I'm buying.
I was up at Cropping Land recently for the business awards, the state business awards, and one of the farmers who was at the event owned the paddock right next to where the event was, and he said it's 14 passes per crop on his tractor. So, one's seeding and then one's harvesting, and you've got 12 passes in the middle, which is management, chemicals. There's a lot going into it. I don't think people realise the extent of it.
Yeah. But I think that the exciting part here is this whole systems change is what we need. So farmers are certainly trying to, but no one wants to work with chemicals. They're trying to reduce their chemical load, and understanding that by reducing their fertiliser load that they can reduce their chemical load. So the whole world of regenerative agriculture has started. But it's then what they're selling into. So there's vegetable farmers out there where the farmers, they have the businesses that they sell to. Those businesses supply the machinery. They stipulate how it has to be grown, and then that's just the farmer's kind of hands are tied.
Mm-hmm.
So you've just walked in and said, well, I'm not selling into the sale yards because that's not real value for my food. I want better value for my food, and you realise the cost of growing good, nutritious food is actually more expensive than consumers realise.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it was just a non-starter for me. Even personal values aside, there was no way for me to viably start an agricultural enterprise with taking what I was given at the end of every crop.
Yeah.
You grow your steers and you sell them off to be auctioned at the local yards, and you turn into a price taker and not a price maker. I come from different industries where we set our buy prices, we set our sell prices, and then you've got to just manage the fat in the middle with your wages and overheads. And it's laughable in the other industries all around, every other industry all around the world to not know what you're selling for. So it was just a non-starter for me. I would have never got going. But like you said, we've got beef, pork, chicken, lamb, eggs, and a few little ancillary enterprises like honey or fruit or whatever it might be, and we can set the price on all of it and put it in the market. We get direct market feedback. It sells or it doesn't, and we can make decisions accordingly. And I was talking to a friend the other day about this, and he was a teacher, and he was trying to wrap his head around how it all worked. And I said, how would you like to teach your class for 12 months, and then at the end of 12 months go into the town square and auction off your services and get paid retrospectively. So you've done a whole year's salary, you've done a whole year's work with no income, and then at the end of the year, you auction it off so they can look at how good your teaching was, and that'll make some impact, but also it depends how many teachers are there selling their labour, how many people are there wanting to buy their labour, whether it's raining, all these other effects as to what you get paid for the year, and you just can't wrap your head around it.
It's a different industry, and we've found ourselves a little bit stuck in it. But what I see, what you have found is that marketing buffer. You can tell your story, and you get people to come to your farm and see how you farm and the reason you farm that way. And then they've got that personal connection to the food, and they want to buy your food. So going into the industrial agriculture, I have no idea who's made the flour. I don't know who has grown the wheat. So you've really personalised the food and got that story there, and I think that's what farming needs in general. And then to be able to take out that middle person, so you're not getting less for your food. Tell us about your farm. It's quite unique.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've just taken over our third lease block. I don't own any land. So once we start moving animals to this lease block this month, we'll have 300 acres under our management, which is a weird metric because it sort of doesn't mean much, but it's sort of 3 horse paddocks in our area. 100 acre paddock is a hobby block, and I'm leasing all these properties off lifestylers essentially, which is really interesting in and of itself. We do beef, pork, chicken, lamb and eggs, and we've got all these animals on pasture-based systems. So obviously with our chickens and our pigs, we're importing a bit of grain because they're omnivores, but they're always rotating to fresh pastures around the farm. And then our ruminants, cows and sheep, are doing holistic place grazing. So we've got maps, and they sort of race around the farm and do their thing. And we've just started breeding cattle, but everything else we're trading in and out. So we're buying day-old chicks for our meat bird enterprise. We're buying weaner piglets for our pork enterprise. And in the beginning, I was quite idealistic, and I wanted to breed everything and do it all myself. And you start running out of land pretty quick. You can either have sows, laying piglets, and then a few grubbers on the side, or you can offset the sows to a friend up the road, and then you have more land for your weaners. So I've been sort of building in a few efficiencies around that, and instead of being idealistic about doing it all myself, which ends up being a crippling workload, now I get to support community. So the guy I buy my piglets off, Jason up at Cootamundra, can build a business knowing that every 3 weeks he can send a truck of weaners down to me, and I've got community instead of isolation. So I actually think that having that reliance on other people's really exciting, and it builds a bit of defence into the system. But everything's organic. We're not certified organic, so I get pillaged a little bit for using that word. We don't use certified organic feed, but we use no sides on the farm. There's no pesticide, herbicide or homicide on our farm, and we don't drench. Haven't had the need to use any of those intensive inputs.
How did your father feel, your mum and dad, when you started doing all this on their farm? Supportive or? Reasonably
supportive. So the main 100 acre block where we do all of our intensive operations like eggs and broilers and that sort of thing is on my parents' 100 acres that I lease off them. And in the beginning, it was a bit of fun, and I just had a caravan, and I broke an old ratty caravan off Facebook. I put a bale of straw in the bottom, so no ventilation or anything, and threw Dad's 40 hens in it. He used to have for his eggs. And it stunk pretty quickly, and I couldn't get away from the bike shop, so I was ringing up Dad, who's retired, going, can you go down there and move the caravan? And the dolly wheel would snap, and he'd be out there in the mud getting the trailer bogged, and a little bit of friction. Before it was a business, and before I had any labour or anything like that, a bit of friction there. But once I got to the point that I could bring in a staff member, it eased all of that right off. And then I had to work on Mum for a little while, because I think that my shelters and caravans that I have roaming around the farmscape are quite endearing. They're crooked and they're rusty and they squeak, and I like the look of them in the paddock. I think that it fits. It's postcard worthy. You don't get this glare off them. They sort of sit in the landscape, and Mum didn't like that at all. Yeah, you know, when I build my chicken sheds, I use all upcycled materials the best I can, so it doesn't cost much. And so you end up with this shed cladded with 5 different colours of Colorbond. And I like it, but Mum didn't. So I think she's got over that now, but that was a bit of point of contention for a little while.
They've got a beautiful home. I've been out on your farm tour, so and I understand like that. They're probably retired, are they?
Yes.
Yeah. And then having to go out and do things for you when they just want their retirement.
That's right.
Yeah. So you sorted that out. That's good.
Yeah, we worked through that.
Yeah. How many people do you have working on there at the moment?
We've got 2 at the farm and 2 in the butchery, and then some casual help for the weekends.
Okay.
Yep.
So you've still got the bike shop
Yes.
and the cafe
Yes.
and hum.
Yes.
So 3 businesses anymore?
We run a .com for the bicycle store as well, so it's in a separate building with a separate team and business structure. And I breed dogs, which I basically blended into the farm enterprise now, but for a while that was run fairly autonomously off to the side.
Well, I mean, animals are like small dogs, beautiful dogs. I know what you've got. You've got the
Schnauzers.
little, it's just adorable. They're in big demand.
Yes.
Like you could nearly get as much for one of those as what you could, if not more, for a cow.
Well, if you're selling it direct to the market in terms of the sales yards, the dogs are worth more than cows.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so why not? I mean, that's just sucking.
Well, my whole thing is, you know, everyone wants a puppy, and no one wants a puppy breeder. You know, like think about the tone and the animosity that people speak about dog, and everyone's a backyard breeder or a puppy farmer. You know, in what we don't like. What's the alternative of a backyard breeder? It's probably someone doing it commercially, which ends up being a puppy farmer because they're doing it commercially all of a sudden. So if we all want puppies, but we don't want puppy breeders, you can't just say adopt, because if you get rid of the breeders, there's nothing left to adopt. So, you know, what's the answer? And I personally think that farms are the best places for dogs. They get socialised with a wide range of sounds and smells and animals, different aged people. And I think in a perfect world, every family all around the country would raise 1 litter per household somewhere along their journey, not a litter a year, but just 1, so those kids can get the burrs chipped off them by the puppies, and the puppies can do the same with the children. Like our puppies are incredibly socialised, and they're just handled constantly by a 5 and a 2-year-old, plus all the friends that come over, and we end up with beautiful dogs. So I think in families and on farms is the best place to breed dogs.
Yeah.
So we do standard schnauzers. We used to do minis, and I sold my share of the business to my sister, and I just imported standard schnauzers, so they're a bit taller. I've got 3 in from Europe, and I've got my first 2 litters on the ground right now, which has been about 2 years in the making, so I'm pretty excited.
Wow. You do go out sourcing all different unique things, don't you?
No one in Australia would sell me a dog, so I just went to Europe and got them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to get my head around how you do all of this, and just could you give me an idea of a day in the life of Jacob Wolki? Like, you must have so much energy. Tell me a general day for you.
We're setting up to homeschool as well, so I've got my boys, like my eldest Otto isn't going off to school, he's 5 now, so he comes with me 2 days a week generally, and same with my youngest Theo. So I've got them a day each separately, and then a day together once a week. But I get up early-ish whenever Theo wakes up. Normally could be anywhere between 5 and 6, and we head straight to the butchery because my butchers start at 4:30 in the morning. That's their own choice because we're not a customer-facing butchery. Opening hours don't mean anything to me. It doesn't impact the business at all, and my butchers want to start at 4:30 and knock off at midday. So we go in there first to make sure that we can touch base with them if we need to. Any organising, do handovers. I restock the freezers, pack my orders. That's sort of. I often laugh that I do the most mundane and lowest yielding jobs across the face of the businesses, because I sort of find the spots in the business where I can't afford to pay someone to execute yet, and I just fill the gap and build it to the point that I can. So that used to be farm chores when I had 100 chickens, you know, and now I can afford to have a farm hand, but I can't afford to pay someone to pack my orders and ship them every week because there's not enough orders through that sales avenue. So I'm doing that while that builds up, and then I'll outsource that, which I'm not far away to. And then we do the rounds. So we'll go through the bike shop and the cafe and grab a coffee. I don't do any hands-on stuff in the bike shop anymore, but I've got a good management team. So we'll have a quick powwow. I've got a full-time bookkeeper. We'll have a look at some statements, touch base with managers if there's any HR things we need to run over. Go out to the farm, get the boys razzled up, quite often I'm finding somewhere cool and quiet so the kids can nap of an evening, and that's when I'll do my laptop work or whatever. I'm finished early arvo most days and go home and do the family thing. My day's probably not as chaotic as it might sound from the outside looking in, because I've got a lot of good people and I'm not interested in micromanaging people, and I'm probably not very good at performance managing either. But what I do is set expectations on values and outcomes and motivate, I guess.
There's so many little avenues I can go into, which I know our customers are going to be, or our listeners are going to be really interested in. But previously, your dad had some set-stocked animals on the farm.
Yep.
And you went to him and you said, well, what if I start moving them around?
Yes.
You know, do you think that we could be more productive? Were you more productive?
Well, it's hard to quantify. Like I believe in the rotational grazing practices that we do, and I believe if you follow the basics that you'll always be more productive. But when I took over, we had steers on a farm in the end of 2019, which was the end of the drought, and then the bushfires, so there was barely a blade of grass on the farm. It was all dirt. We had cow patties 30 centimetres wide that sat on the ground for nearly a year because everything was so beat up. And since then, we've had beautiful wet seasons. So it's really hard to sort of draw a rational, scientific results out of that, I think. But when we do fence line comparisons within our own paddocks and fences, and then with neighbours, all our fences around our property are getting bent in. You know, and I think that's good enough for me, I think. And that's generally stocking double the kilograms of beef per hectare as our neighbours, plus all the other animals, and we're not importing hay or straw. So I think we're pretty productive.
You've recently had Brian Wahlberg on
Yes.
your property.
Yes.
Tell me what you meant there.
I really just wanted to get all my team on the same page about how to grass budget, how to do a grazing plan, how to read a grazing plan, and then all just be given, I guess, a uniform decision-making matrix, you know, that covers our values and our mission statement. So when feed does start running out during winter or summer or whatever it is, when we have a discussion about it, there's no pressure points that this staff member thinks the paddocks should be made bigger and this one, or I think they should be made smaller. We wanted to just, because I've read the books, but you know, reading the books and executing it and experimenting yourself is different from as a team being coached and going through real life examples at the same time. So it was just a great opportunity to get some community in, because we ended up running a workshop and getting about a bit over a dozen locals in with us to do the course with us. And good community week, and then getting everyone on the same page. I think it was very valuable. Brian's a great communicator.
It's nearly like having policies and procedures, isn't it? Like this is how we graze.
Yes.
And then you don't have to be watching it as much because you know that everyone's got that same system.
Of course.
Yeah, okay. So I know that the infrastructure can be low cost, but you've just bought a butchery. You must be kind of, like, how are you financing that, and is it profitable? And, you know, if I'm being rude, please just tell me, but like I know that Nutrisoil would not have started and been set up the way it is without Lynn and Brain selling their farm and buying a business in town. Like, you do need capital to grow, and I can see that's what you're doing.
Yes.
So how are you managing all of this?
I think this is something that really plagues regenerative agriculture, especially when you're using that term to classify, as I think it's quite often used, like small little bootstrap startups. And there's nothing wrong with being a startup, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with bootstrapping, but any business needs capital and time to start. And even in just the 4 years that I've been farming, I've watched probably a dozen young local farms start and end within that. You know, some are going for a year and they give up because it's too hard and it's not paying, and they didn't realise how much time and capital it was going to be needed. So we're 4 years in, and I've tipped in probably $500,000 in terms of cash out of my pocket and taking on debt. You know, mortgage on the freehold of the butchery and finance for equipment and a work ute and all these different things. And I've done that with the other businesses I've set up in the past. You know, so I still get a salary, I still get a dividend from our other businesses. And something that's been really helpful for us has been owning our own restaurant and being able to put a lot of our produce in that, because if I get an oversupply of rump, because I stockpile all my produce frozen, and if I see rump building up and there's 50 kilos of rump, I send a message to the chef and I said, rare roast beef salads on the menu, boys. I'm going to drop off 50 kilos of rump tomorrow, and we get along with it. And I always think that's it. People quite often say to me, you're so lucky that you can do that. I said, well, go and start your own restaurant, and then you'll be lucky that you can put your own produce through it as well, because we started that restaurant we took debt on to start that restaurant as well. So I've funded a lot of it. And are we profitable? I'd say the last 6 months, we've finally gotten to a point where we're cash flow positive, and I'm buying new infrastructure and making new investments based off the profit of the farming business. So it's taken us $500,000 in 4 years basically to get there.
That's pretty quick.
Yep.
Yeah.
If I had more money, I would have done it quicker.
Yeah, okay. So you had the cafe, so you had your bike shop. What made you open the cafe and the bike shop?
So my family purchased Cycle Station in 2011, and a couple of years, and it grew exponentially. We doubled the turnover the first 12 months, and then we doubled that again, and then we did it again. We went busier and busier. Just basic things: customer service, range, price, and then the old bowling club across the road came up for sale, which was owned by the state, and it got passed in at auction. So my father rung up and made a lowball offer on it, and we got that. So we demolished that building, the old derelict. We had to the front page of the Board of Mouths. Everyone was kicking up a stink because we're ruining this heritage building, and it had squatters living in it for the last 6 years. It's like you didn't care about it when it was being vandalised, and all of a sudden it's beautiful. We demolished that, and we developed our new building where we have Cycle Station, and we thought, well, Lycra and espresso goes hand in hand. So we carved out a corner of the building. It's only 100 metres or something, and we gave it to a couple of real estate agents to list, to find a tenant. My family did food decades ago and said never again. The hours were too big and too much cleaning and inventory control and all of this. One of the real estate agents actually laughed at us and said, that's the worst spot in town. I'm not even going to bother putting it on the books. Do yourself a favour and put bikes in it. And we met with a few local restaurateurs, and no one was interested enough, so we got forced into a corner to fill it ourselves because it was sitting idle. And now it's a fantastic business. We wouldn't be without it. And hospitality to me is so interesting because you've got a business where you can turn over your inventory 2 or 3 times a week. My bike shop, I'm happy to do it 3 or 4 times a year. So it's such a different thing. So that's how we got started with the cafe. And now it's, apart from my wife's sort of top level involvement with a bit of hiring and some menu planning, it basically runs itself now.
Yeah. So the cafe came before the farm?
Cafe was 2014, end of 2014. So bike shop 2011, cafe 2014, and my first interest in farming was somewhere in 2019.
It's all flowed. I mean, a bike shop to a farm is very different, but that cafe to the farm, Yep. That's pretty.
The cafe probably wasn't an interest. It was more of a necessity. The bike shop. My family's got this rule, and it's been sort of this little, dinner table topic for years. And this is so counter to what you're told in the media and in like business coaching. But our rule has always been, don't buy a business in an industry you're interested in. Because you're not buying a passion, you're buying a business. And I know that this is backwards because everyone says follow your dreams and chase your passion. But our decision was, like, my father used to own a record store, and when I finished school I worked for him selling CDs and DVDs for 4 years. My dad hates music. And so he would order records and CDs and tapes and whatever it was and stock them based purely on what his clients wanted. And we'd go all around the country on holidays, and we'd go in and visit every little mum and dad record store, and you could, within a minute of walking into the shop, you could always tell what music they liked, the owners, because the rack at the front of the shop would have the latest 3 or 4 country music releases on it, or it'd be a rap, or it'd be metal. And Dad and I would look at these titles, and we knew that all of them were poor sellers, and we're very confident it wasn't that's what, like, you'd be on Bondi Beach, in a music shop in Bondi Beach, and they've got Slim Dusty and Roy Orbison and Lee Kernaghan, 3 great artists, not what people in Bondi Beach are necessarily listening to, so they let their own bias and prejudice dictate the market. And so when we purchased the bicycle shop, we weren't interested in bikes. Like, we're passionate cyclists. We love cycling, especially electric bikes. They're just so much fun. we weren't interested in bikes. And so what we did was we followed the market, and in 2012, I hosted an electric bike expo in the shop. And electric bikes didn't really get adopted properly in Australia until probably 2020, 8 years ahead, because people were asking for it, and all these other bike stores let their prejudice get in front of them. I used to tell the staff, if our customers want tandem bicycles and tricycles, we'll put it in, because I'm not some bleeding heart road racing pedigree guy who wants to sell road bikes. So that's always been the mentality, but the farm has flipped that on its head, and it's become a passion project. But those business fundamentals of meeting the market are still ingrained. So I think they're still serving a purpose in terms of just my own perception on things.
Let's talk about your chicken tractors.
Yes.
They're quite creative. You don't buy them, you make them. How do you make them?
I can't wrap my head around the economics of buying them.
They're expensive, aren't they?
I think the last time I looked it was $25,000, and you can run 400 or so hens in it. And you need, I think the instructions say you need 2 hands of labour, 2 people for 3 days to build it, and you got to supply your own roof. And they're absolutely, there's a bunch of different brands. I'm not taking the mickey out of any brand. They've got amazing technology in them. Like, you can level the lane boxes, so when your tractor's on uneven ground and your eggs don't crack. But we fix that with a piece of AstroTurf bent, or automatic doors. We bought an automatic door off eBay for $100. You don't need all these shiny whiz bang things. So I do the Richard Perkins Eggmobile now. We purchase caravans. If I see a caravan on Gumtree or Trading Post or Facebook for under $300 or $400, especially if it's got 2 axles, I race around and I buy it. And I've built up relationships with all the local tow truck drivers, and they'll go and get it for a slab of beer or something for me. And then we wreck the caravan off the top, we drive the tractor into it, we get the big plug-in angle grinder with a 12-inch disc on it, and we go hell for leather and we rip it to shreds. We keep some cool stuff out of it too. We've got stainless steel sinks and mattresses and all this stuff that we can sell on eBay. Sometimes I get my money back plus some by wrecking them and flipping all the bits inside of them. Trolley jacks and all sorts of fun stuff. And then I've got my own Lucas mill, so we mill our own timber now. I get recycled tin sheeting, corrugate, colorbond or whatever from local shed companies. Local shed companies actually get their roller doors for the sheds delivered, wrapped in sheets so they don't scratch in transit, and then they just cut them off and throw them out. So I say, keep them for me, and I'll pick them up every 3 or 4 months, and I'll bring you a box of beef, and we do tradies, and everyone's happy. And so we build them out of that. They're rickety and they're wonky, and they squeak when you tie them around the paddocks, and the chickens absolutely love them.
Yeah.
Well, I've never had a formal complaint from a chook about them, so I'm assuming that they like them.
Oh, they're gorgeous. They're up quite high too, like when you get up into them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how long does it take to make one, and how many people do you need?
Oh, in the beginning, I was getting cousins who were chippies in and everything, because we were just going off photos on Facebook. So we'd go on to Ridgedale Permaculture, or we'd go on to Joel Salatin or whoever's Facebook page or website, and we'd zoom in and try to figure out what the angle was. And then we built the first one. Probably took almost 5 of us 2 days. But then I got a friend of mine who's a draftsman to actually do me. It's a set of plans which are 30 steps with cut lists, angles, lengths, and material lists and everything, which I sell these plans now for people. But now, when we have all that information and we can have all the goods ready on farm, 2 blokes could knock us together in a day and a half.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you say you sell the plans now?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you're an entrepreneur. You've always got this business mind, haven't you?
Just ticks along that it's like $50 and
Yeah.
saves people.
Yeah.
It saved, what does it save me? Saves me probably cumulatively, probably saved me 7 days of labour by having solid plans that we can just reference off and
Someone
do it.
who's done it before.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Do you have any regrets?
With the farming?
Yeah.
Do I have any regrets? I don't think so. I think, I don't, people have that saying, I don't have any regrets. I sort of don't like that saying because
I agree.
I think it minimises the effect of lessons learned. I sort of wish I started breeding cattle a bit earlier, so I could be, I keep looking at this, I'm in my 30s, I've probably got 15 years of high pace work left in me, and then maybe another 30 years after that, and I'm knocking on the door, I'm just about done. So I'm looking at you breeding a new generation of cattle every couple of years. Might only have 20 or 30 generations in me, that sort of gets up my nose a little bit, because I want to see how far I can push this thing. But 2-3 years ago, it didn't suit the enterprise. The market was different. I hadn't found a breed that I was passionate about, so nothing stands out yet.
Yeah. Don't put it out there.
I wish I bought land 2 years ago before COVID. Like, my wife and I were probably just about in a place where we could have bought land. There was a farm that we really liked, and we thought, it's a lot of money, but it's a nice block of land. It's probably, and we sat on it, and then we actually called up and said we'd take it, and it had just sold for the same price. And now it's at least doubled in value in the last 2 years. So we'll say that's it. If you want to regret, you can say that I didn't enter the property market earlier.
There'll be a reason why it happened, though. Everything happens for a reason. Let's talk about the butchery. So 4 years you've had the farming set up, and then 2 years in you've bought this butchery.
Yes.
I went in there on the weekend, I've joined up, and it's not staffed, and it's all frozen meat. How did you think of that?
We purchased the butchery out of a necessity. So for those listening, it's a boning room. So we purchased the freehold because it became very apparent to us very quickly that we were not going to be able to build a meaningful business in terms of revenue and kilograms of meat produced by outsourcing processing to local butchers. And that's not a slight at any of these local butchers, but they've got their own businesses. They're doing their set turnover and they're staffed accordingly, and they don't have time to worry about my cow a week that I want done or whatever it might be. So we took production into our own hands, purchased this freehold and renovated it and got going, put a butcher out the back. And now we custom process for about 15 other local farmers, which is another whole business in its own right. And it's a 75-year-old freehold. It's very well known around the area for having small goods, and it's a old famous store. And this retail space was sort of niggling at me in the back of my head. I'm like, this is a wasted opportunity, but I could not justify in a business sense having anyone sitting there selling the meat. And I was chatting to Anthony Ainsworth, who's a local small goods at Murray River Smokehouse, used to be Butt's Smokehouse. I was talking to him because he was giving me a few tips. I needed some help with. I've never been shy about cold calling and pushing myself into people's businesses, and I'm asking ask the question. The worst thing they can do is say no, right?
Yeah.
And just don't take offence, and just hope that they don't take offence.
Probably honoured.
It's all about. I think it's all about intent.
Yeah.
So if you're going into somebody's business to sniff out pricing and margins and steal staff, feel guilty about it. But if you genuinely are interested and you earnestly want to learn for yourself in your own business, there's no harm, no foul. So I was talking to Anthony, and he said, when are you going to open that storefront? I think this was in December. We'd settled on the butchery in September. So in December, he goes, when are you going to open that storefront? I said, never. We're not interested. We're just processing. He goes, you'll have it open in March. And it really ticked me off. I've known Anthony, he's a customer in the bike shop for a long time. Geez, it ticked me off because he set me this goalpost that you're going to have it open in 3 months. And I said, it doesn't make any financial sense. I can't do it. I'm too busy getting everything else going. And I had it open 1st of April. I missed out on a day.
Oh, wow.
All the tradies dicked me around. But I couldn't afford the labour, and I thought, walk-in vending machine. And I was literally thinking, put the swipe your credit card and it spits the rump out, the turner. Push. Couldn't find that to hold the volume and scale that I wanted, but I ended up blending the system of 24-hour gym, so monitored access with a unique code and then high-def video surveillance with the use of an app on your smartphone where you can scan the barcodes and pay with your debit card. So we've been having that running for almost 2 years now.
The app, it seemed to have other businesses that use it as well. Like, it's really easy to use. Mm-hmm. It even takes you to your address.
Yes. It's geocached, so it knows where you are.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's out of America. It's called Express Checkout, and a heap of places in America and Canada use it. A few places. If you log on to the app, I think the next closest store to mine is in Hong Kong City, which is pretty funny. But it was purposely built for supermarkets in America so that when customers were shopping, they could scan things as it went into their trolley and hit pay, and then show it through the express lane, and then bypass both a normal cashier checkout and a self-service checkout because they've already done it. So just reduced wages, reduced congestion, all of that sort of thing. And we just modified it slightly to be able to work in a self-checkout system, so with no staff. So
how did you find it?
heaps of Googling.
Yeah.
Google, scroll through heaps of pages, contact companies, do a Zoom, realise that theirs didn't quite work, and they'd refer someone, and took me weeks. There's all these beautiful apps. There's so much technology and information and knowledge out there. And if you have a crazy idea about something that you've never heard of, I could almost guarantee that there's a company out there that specialises in it. But finding it is really challenging, because maybe you're searching in English and they're a German company and everything's in Deutsch on their website. So it's just about, again, getting yourself out there and asking questions.
Yeah. Wow. I just think that you've brought such creativity and a whole new system into agriculture. So well done.
Thank you.
I hope that other farmers look at what you do and think, how can I do something like that? And in the butchery, it's also other farmers that, might be hobby farmers that want to know who's killing or who's cutting. It's not an actual abattoir.
That's right, not yet.
I know. I've heard that that's potentially in your plans.
It'll be out of necessity, because when I started the butchery 2 years ago, we had 4 local abattoirs servicing private kills, which is a farm wanting a slaughter, and then the farm receives the beast back, or it goes to the butcher or whatever it might be, and now there's 2. Purely just based on economics. 2 of them don't bother delivering to local butchers anymore because it's not worth their time. The volume's so low, the drive into town's not worth it. So not only would we like to take slaughter into our own hands so that we can have more control, reclaim our beef cheeks and our offal and our hides, and get the whole animal back, which we can't currently do. But I just think as the industry centralises, that we're going to need it. Like if my local abattoir, who I have a good relationship with and I enjoy working with, but if they said, sorry Jake, it doesn't make sense anymore to do your processing, my business is kaput, like the whole thing's over. I'm driving to Yass or Melbourne to get processing done. So I'd like to do it, but it's, again, necessity breeds that creation.
Yeah, okay. And if other farmers wanted to have their animals processed by your butchery, how does that work?
So they just have to call us and make a booking. So a new client would call me, I'd email them a price list, and then they would make a booking with the respective abattoir. So whether it's Wangaratta for beef and lamb or Benalla for pork, and then when they deliver the animals there, they fill out on a form that it's under my account, because they won't book it to individuals. It has to be booked to a butchery, which is another reason why I had to buy it, because I couldn't get things regularly booked using other butchers' accounts. And then the abattoirs actually deliver it back to me, and then we cut and package it how the customers requested. We do barcodes, custom logo on it, pricing, whatever the consumer wants. It's all cryovac, sausage, mince, everything. And then we can either ship it to the customer. So we have some clients that farm down near Melbourne, and we ship the produce down to them, or they can come pick it up from the butchery and do their own distribution to their consumers. So like I said earlier, we're doing that for our 15 local farmers at the moment, from a range of beef, pork, lamb, tiny bit of goat for some people. And I'm an open book. I'm trying to help these people grow their businesses, because it's all about community, not competition. So I'm constantly trying to not give them advice, I guess, but just get them moving, give them some motivation.
Yeah, that's a new way of doing business, isn't it? So lifting everyone up and working together rather than seeing someone as competition.
Well, absolutely, and even across my whole business, if I had whole families buying my produce, I think last time I worked it out, I'd only be feeding 100 families. That's like just about everything. And how many families are there in Albury Wodonga, and let alone the country. So it's not the Jake Wolki show. It's about getting good food in front of people.
Yeah. You've got an event coming up soon, the Australian Beef
Initiative. Yes.
Tell us about that.
So there was a group that I actually met through custom processing. So they're from Melbourne. They messaged me and they said, we want to process this beef. Could you do it for us? And I said, yeah, no worries. And they've dropped it off at the Abs, and we've got it. We've chopped it up, and then this is one of the ones that I had to ship down to Melbourne. And he sent me the packing list, and he said, here's all the clients, first names, 20 kilos of mixed beef. And then and that's how I was going to box it for him, to palletise it and ship it down to Melbourne. And one column had payment type, and it was fiat. Now you don't often see people writing down, cash or bank transfer as a payment type with the word fiat. So I was like, that's interesting. And then underneath it was Bitcoin. It was fiat, Bitcoin, fiat. I'm like, oh, that's curious. So when I was on the phone to him next organising logistics, I said, "Oh, you've sold some meat for Bitcoin." He said, "Yeah," and he was all excited straight away. It was all about Bitcoin, and we hit it off and formed a bit of a relationship. And I just found these people really interesting, and they were actually setting up a co-op. So this is city people that don't have any farming experience, setting up a co-op, trying to help bridge the knowledge gap and divide between consumers and farmers in a range of ways. Like, it's really varied, but basically a lot of people in the city still don't realise you could buy meat direct off the farmer. So what if we made that really easy for them? It motivated more farmers to sell direct to the consumer. Like, the reason there's a lot of good farmers that do grass-fed and finished animals with no drenching and holistic plant grazing and beautiful animals, and then just sell it into commodity market, because that's where it has to go. Where else are they going to sell it?
It's agriculture's biggest problem.
Absolutely. So this group, they're not even trying to facilitate the transaction in terms of we'll sell it and take a percent. They're holding events to motivate, encourage, educate both consumers and producers on this is potential ways that this can happen here. We've brought in a speaker, Texas Slim from Texas in America, who's doing it over there, and they've actually got an abattoir set up, got a website selling beef in the community with this exact same way. So we've got doctors coming to do keynote presentations, we've got farmers, we've got Texas, then we've also got one of the guys at the end of the day is going to be talking about Bitcoin for anyone interested, because there's a big, the regen space, which sort of flows into, there's quite a few that are sort of these organic permaculture, sovereign, self-responsible, self-governance types, and it's all fun and interesting to us. So, and I'm reasonably committed to hosting any function of almost any type on our farm, because I believe farms should be community hubs in the environment, not these dangerous, smelly, dusty places tucked away on the back roads. Like, people should be coming to the farms for community, which is what I think. So when these guys said, "Do you want to host our first event?" I said, "Let me at it. Let's do it."
12th of Feb?
12th of Feb, Sunday, 12th of Feb, all day. Yep.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, and to find out more, they can go to your website.
The tickets are on Eventbrite. So if they search Wolki Farm on Eventbrite, we're there.
Yeah. Wow, I just feel like you've just got your web out everywhere, and you're making great change. So I'd love to now take you for a walk around Nutrisoil and show you the wind farms and their grains and Jill's garden. And maybe pick your brain about how you think we might be able to, take some of your amazing entrepreneurial ideas.
Sure. Yeah. Self-service at Nutrisoil.
Wow, look, I've thought of it, like since seeing yours. Yeah. It's like going to be a petrol, tank.
Yes, cool.
Don't worry about that. So thank you, Jake.
Pleasure.
I just really enjoyed this conversation. I think it's going to bring a whole lot of freedom and just creativity to agriculture to people that listen. So thank you.
Pleasure.
Please follow the Biological Farming Roundtable podcast. Share it with your friends and networks. I'm Nikala Maddock and I work at Nutrisoil, a liquid biological fertiliser made from a big worm farm whose purpose is to empower farmers to produce life-enriching food.